Secretary has admitted there's not enough funding at the Ministry of Defence to cover all that needs to be done. So will the budget raise or be risen under Conservative
Well,
government?
I don't know. I think the Defence Secretary must have. The Defence Secretary was very successful in getting a big increase in funding. I think a 2.6% increase, another £2.2 billion we're putting into defence. This is a government that believes massively in strong armed services, not because we're bellicose, but not because we're warmongers, but because we want to support our wonderful armed services.
What do you think the biggest threat to security and defence is when it comes to Brexit?
I'm afraid the biggest threat to security and defence, I'm going to be political now, if you forgive me, is unquestionably Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party, because they have catastrophic. I mean, this is a guy who wants our armed services to be banned and who has spent his career supporting the IRA, who did so much to attack this country's interests and indeed our armed services. He supports the enemies of this country in the form of terrorists in the form of Hamas and Hezbollah. And I think I've heard him say that, I've read him say that he cannot think of any circumstances in which he would send our armed services into action. And that is not the right thing for the UK. We are the second biggest power in NATO. We are massively important for the stability of the world. We help to keep the Atlantic Alliance together between America and the European countries. The UK is absolutely fundamental to the security of the world at the moment. For us to walk away from our armed services, to say that we, to become to lose our commitment, to throw away our nuclear deterrent, as I think Emily Thornberry said that she would do this morning. These are not sensible policies for the UK.
So why then should the armed forces, personnel, veterans trust you to be their Prime Minister?
Well, I hope that they will. When you look at what we're doing for veterans, look at what Johnny and his team are doing at the Ministry for Veterans. We support veterans, but also look at what we're doing to try to include the armed services in the life of the country. So just today, we have announced that, for instance, we'll ensure that people in the armed services get wraparound childcare, which is very, very important, from 4 to 11, to help them with their professional needs and to look after kids. Number two, we'll make sure that anybody leaving the armed services gets, applying for a job in the public sector, at least gets an interview, because there is discrimination against members of the armed services when they go for jobs, and that's totally wrong, totally irrational. People in the armed services do fantastically well in professional life. So we also want to incentivise employers with a cut in their national insurance contributions for people from the armed services, and we also want to have a third off the rail costs of people in the armed services, because you should. I think it's right that civil society should reflect the particular sacrifice and commitment that people in the armed services make. When I was Mayor of London, we did a huge amount of this stuff. We allowed armed services people to travel free on the tube. It was massively popular, not just with the armed services, but with everybody in London.
So you've got a defence question that you want to ask those vying to run the country. Well, here's how you do it. Take your phone, make sure it's in landscape, not portrait, that way, landscape. Make sure your head is in the middle of the screen, look straight into the camera, press record and ask away. It's really that simple. Just make sure you tell us your name and your link to the armed forces before you send it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, or why not see what the other leaders had to say.